BodyThredz, the podcast. Find your power.
Oh man, I just love hearing that intro music every time I do one of these podcasts. Welcome to the BodyThredz podcast, where fitness, music, and culture collide. I'm Joe Kohn, founder and CEO of BodyThredz, and today we're turning up the volume with a guest who needs no introduction in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. He's the president of Olympia, the most iconic age in the sport, and a visionary leader who has shaped how athletes, fans, and the industry connect. Dan Solomon, it is great to have you on the BodyThredz podcast.
Joe, I got to be honest with you too. I've arrived at that rarefied air of your show. Is quite an honor. I know you've been working to build this up, and you got a lot of great things going on, and it's fun to finally do this. I know we've been talking about trying to make this happen for a while.
Absolutely. Thank you again. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on the show. We talked a little bit off camera, which I don't usually like to do because I like to have that spontaneity. But you told me about the first time you were introduced to Olympia. It was in 1998, a long time ago at Madison Square Garden. So tell us a little bit about that experience and how that led you to your passion to where you are today. And I'm sure there's a lot of hurdles that you had to go through.
Oh yeah. You know, so it's fun that you go through life and you just land in these situations, and then they will have a profound impact, a transformative impact on your life. I'm sure you had it in your passion for music, that moment where you sat in row 48 at a Scorpions concert and fell in love with music or whatever it was. For me, it happened in 1998. I was in New York City for some unrelated business. Across the street from my hotel was Madison Square Garden. And inside the Madison Square Garden is a theater called the Paramount Theater, which that weekend that I happened to be in town on that night was hosting the 1998 Mr. Olympia night. For those of you out there who don't know that world, the Olympia represents the Super Bowl of the global fitness industry. It's the NBA Finals. It's the World Series. It's all rolled up in one. It is the singular stage that anoints the best of the best every single year. And I attended this event, and it had a significant impact on me. It was a very visceral, powerful experience with all kinds of energy and sensory overload and production value. And I was just really enamored by the connection between the fans and what was going on the stage, and the battles between these larger than life characters on the stage. And of course, that's the same event that Arnold Schwarzenegger won 7 times, and Lee Haney, and some of the best, Ronnie Coleman. Those of you out there who follow the sport, those names will mean something to you. And it was just a really fun thing. And I remember leaving that theater that night, knowing that I wanted this to sustain in my life. There was something about it that I felt really connected to, and I didn't know how it was going to follow me in my life, but I knew I needed it to be a part of my life in some way, shape, or form. And then, of course, a series of things happened after that. But that was the night that bodybuilding found me, and I found it.
That's awesome. And I've been privileged to attend, I think I'm going on my 4th one. And as a regular guy, I didn't grow up doing the whole fitness thing as far as watching these guys. So it was amazing to me my first time going there. The atmosphere, it is like a rock concert. Especially the last few years that you've been involved. How would you compare what you've accomplished today in 1998? Where was it in 1998?
Well, it's funny. So the event was born in 1965. The Brooklyn Academy of Music is a pretty humble auditorium, and very little production value. But as the years have progressed, it did take on a life of its own. More production value was introduced, and people that oversaw the Olympia before I arrived did their part to really move it along and develop it in many, many ways. And then, in the last 10 to 15 years, significant steps have been taken to tap into advances in production technologies, all kinds of ways to create a more powerful experience for fans who want to attend these events. Look, bodybuilding is challenged when it comes to creating something theatrical. Dana White, who we admire tremendously, runs the UFC. He created an organization, and he gets to promote people kicking the crap out of each other. That's an easy thing to promote, right? Having men and women hit poses on a stage is far more daunting a task to make interesting. So we really went the other way with it. We really try to do what we could to add production value, give it that concert-like experience. And, and some people criticize it, by the way. There are purists. It's like any other sport. It's like baseball, or when they change rules or when things change. Some people don't like all that production value. Some people like that clean black backdrop with clean lighting, where the physiques are showcased in the clearest possible way. The bodybuilding purist will feel that way. Then there are people that come to the event and love the theatrics of it and love what we've created. It's funny, and I haven't told this story yet, but what a perfect show for me to tell this to. A few weeks back, I was at an event in Tampa, and I looked across this hotel coffee shop that I was sitting in, and I saw a familiar face sitting in the corner, and some folks were, coming up and asking him for an autograph and taking pictures. And I took a double take, and I realized quickly, of course, who it was. And of course, me being me, I had to walk over and introduce myself. And the gentleman at the table asked me to sit down and join him, where I spent about 1 hour talking to David Lee Roth about production and about our sport. And the first part about that was, I love the fact that David Lee Roth knew about our sport. He followed it. He was very aware of the history of bodybuilding, the Gold's Gym scene. He knew all about it. And I love that. But more than that, it was an opportunity for me to talk with a guy who knows production better than anybody in theatrics and how to create a stage, and to talk to him about some of the challenges of creating an experience production-wise that, rivals a rock concert. Now, sitting there talking to him, it wasn't lost on me. And I actually thought of you, Joe, because I know those are the kinds of things that you live for, because your appreciation for music exceeds most people I know. I appreciate music. I grew up on it, but not like you. And it wasn't lost on me that I was sitting there talking to one of the greats, the guy who performed Jump in Panama and all those anthems that we grew up on. I was sitting there talking to him, and it was a great moment for me, because I've always tried to understand production value in a way that, only a rock star could. Right. And there I was sitting with one. So yeah, it's really come a long way, and hopefully we can continue to push the envelope. And I always love hearing when you come, Joe, you're always one of the first to tell me how much you enjoy the experience. That means a lot to me, because the feedback that I love is the feedback from people who are outside of our space, the people who don't live within the confines of fitness and bodybuilding and don't really know that world. But that's the feedback that I just love, because it's such an important opportunity for me to see how what we're creating resonates to bringing new fans in, and new spectators, and new lifestylists. And it's a great thing. So, it's been a fun evolution for sure.
And it's interesting you bring up, the legendary rock singer, one of the best of all time. He's the production that Van Halen did way before anybody else, led by David Lee Roth, which is probably part of the issues between the two bands, because David liked to be up, and that kind of bothered the VH brothers, but that's a whole nother show. But that ties in what, BodyThredz is trying to do with the fitness industry. I've always thought there was a natural partnership between weightlifting, sports, and music, right? When you see these guys coming to the arena, they always got their beats, their headphones on, and they're listening to somebody out there. They're listening to music, no matter who it is. Almost every article I read about you is, that he's made this to a Super Bowl like week or weekend. You got it all in one weekend. And what I really loved in my own personal, because of the music I listen to, is, man, you guys really rocked it last year. There was some Metallica playing, there was some Iron Maiden. There might have been Skid Row. I can't remember. I was going to wait to ask this question till the end, but you brought the music. Is there a time, because you bring a lot of stars in now, are we going to see, because I can maybe introduce you some bands, are we going to see a live band maybe play at one of the Olympias?
We'd love that. We'd love to do something like that. It would probably be easier to execute if it wasn't a full-blown band and it was just a vocalist type performance. It would probably be challenging for us to put that together and transition our conventional stage production into it. So I probably would lean that way. I'd love to have some iconic voice come out and kickstart the party a little bit. That's always fun. We always try to bring some element of theatrics. Last year, the legendary ring announcer Bruce Buffer opened up our show, and of course that's not musical, but we always try to do things to give the show a different vibe. But what you just said is really a metaphor for everything. Everything is woven into everything, right? Music, the way it ties into stage production, the way it ties into Hollywood, the way it ties into how we live our everyday lives. That's the one cool thing. And I was talking to David Lee Roth about this topic. There's all different kinds of experiences and all different kinds of celebrities, and fans connect with different things in different ways. But I guess science has shown, actual studies have shown that the parts in our brains that connect with music takes you to a higher place. That's why when people, and you see fans confronted with their favorite rock stars or music artists, they get emotional and they're heavily affected by it because it connects with a part of their brain that's very emotional, and it ties to a time and a place in your life, and it's deeply personal to them. So that's the cool thing about music. And, there's no celebrity that will generate the response that a legitimate rock star will generate, which is why the term rock star was coined, right? Because it's the highest form of fame, right? Being a rock star. And I know some might argue that it's a dying breed. It's not what it used to be. Music is different than it used to be, but there's nothing like being confronted with a rock star and connecting it with that part of your life experience and the emotional response. Music is very much a part of what we do. And we love as a team connecting with different eras and kind of touching people in different ways. And we love it when these guys pick their posing routines and their music, and they'll pick something that we grew up on, and it'll make us respond in a way that's pretty fun.
Yeah, we saw that a lot last year. And that brought me back to the connection that the same kind of energy. There's a connection between guys like me and our fans that grew up on listening to hard rock, heavy metal. Your fans, the fans of your industry, sort of have that protectivism. Like when we first listened to Metallica back in the 80s, and not a lot of people heard of Metallica. And you would be at a concert maybe, and you would see I had a Metallica patch. I was like, you got hey man, what's going on? There's that tight community. In the same way when I first went to your first Olympia, that these fans, they were so passionate, it was so intense, and it really struck me as kind of the way I felt about the music. So again, it's that natural connection. So what's the single change you've made that may have offended people? Because you said that, the old school people like it a certain way. What do you think is the biggest thing you changed that you're most proud of to take Olympia to the next level?
And there's been a few things that we've done production wise. I've seen the way that has impacted the rest of our industry. When we raise production value bars, I see the way other events are inspired to do the same. When we increase prize money, I see the way there's a response to that. But to be honest with you, at the core of everything, the part that we're all the most proud of, and I think this isn't just me, this is all of us who have jobs like mine or are tied to the growth of this community, is when we do things that connect new audiences. There was a time when bodybuilding was a very niche endeavor. Every neighborhood had, that one guy who was the guy who did that. Now it's evolved into something far greater. The chances are pretty good that your kid's third grade teacher maybe is involved in this, or your dentist might be tied to this, or your attorney might either compete or live this lifestyle. And we've really done so many things with the creation of new competitive divisions that celebrate different types of body types, connecting with new audiences, whether it's through celebrities, whether it's through wellness and anti-aging, whether it's through sports and Hollywood. We've done so many things to try to connect with different people. So the part that I think I'm the most proud of is seeing the way more subsections of the world have gravitated. When I get off an airplane in Brazil and I see the way Brazilians respond to Olympia and fitness and bodybuilding and what we do, or when we go to the Middle East or throughout Europe or Latin America, and you see the way those cultures really have placed fitness and bodybuilding and physique transformation on a real high pedestal. And that is really gratifying. It was not always that way. Even the fact that, Joe, you're familiar with what we're doing, and everybody's pretty much connected on some level. And there's a connective tissue between so many elements of what we all do. I have conversations every day with reps from celebrities and athletes that, show up, whether it's Shaquille O'Neal or Shannon Sharp or this person or that person, or Mark Wahlberg will show up, or Dwayne Johnson will stay close to what we do. And they all support it. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they help us promote it. Sometimes they just put out videos of them doing bodybuilding routines or getting in their 4 a.m. workout. And all of that stuff did not used to happen. And now we're seeing that every day. and the lifestyle is appreciated and embraced in a way that it had never been embraced before. And that is without question the singular most gratifying part about this thing for the last few years for me.
That's awesome. And I kind of want to have a follow up to that question because, again, the last few years that I've gone, I've, seen how hard, you work behind the scenes. You can tell it's a pretty stressful, but, passion gets you through those tough times. As part of the fans who are watching the Olympia, not so much the day to day, but like on that night, what's the most unexpected challenge that most people who are watching don't know what you have to go through on that night?
Yeah, there's elements of the live component of the Olympia. Of course, we'll do this podcast. There will be post-production, and I'm sure you will make sure this is presented to the world exactly the way you envision it. When you're doing live and there's pay-per-view involved and there's all sorts of unscripted elements, of course, that take place, and it's all unscripted in terms of how we present it for the most part. Obviously, certain ways of the way the stage flows and certain sequencing is organized and planned, but things that happen on that stage, you just don't know. And so I think there's elements of that create a heightened level of stress. And also because the Olympia is so polarizing, it is so scrutinized, everything that we can possibly do wrong is amplified. If there's a light bulb out on that stage, somebody's going to call us out for it. Other events are able to get away with things that we can't because there's so much focus. And the thing about the fitness and bodybuilding world, it is defined by criticism. Inherently, that's what the sport is. You look at a physique and your goal is to find its weaknesses. That's what it's all about. You can prepare, and you could do 99 things right. That one thing that you do wrong, or that one body part for an athlete that does not come in the way it needs to be, is going to be the thing that everybody talks about. So we really, really work hard to get it all right. And we don't always nail everything. There are elements of what we do that are challenging to stay in front of. But yeah, I think that's the big part of it, is some of those unknown elements that transpire on that stage, and making sure the world receives the experience in a smooth element and in a smooth way. I mean, we have different audiences. We have the several thousand that will pack into a sellout theater. We have the people that will watch around the world on the telecast or the live stream. And we have a table of judges. The show has to look a certain way for all of those individuals. And sometimes it's hard to nail it for everyone. Lighting that might look good on pay-per-view doesn't always look good for the judges, and things that might be suitable for the judges might compromise a fan experience for a VIP. So there's just a lot of elements to it. But at this point, we have a great team. I think the best in the world at what we do. And, we were able to execute, but it's definitely, there's a lot of things happening on show day for sure. And some of those things you're going to see in a movie that's coming out pretty soon. It's called Dream Big, the Olympia movie. And that is a movie that will tell the story of some of the things you just talked about. So looking forward to sharing that with you guys also.
I love these behind the scenes of these industries that are so iconic, that when you see the finished product, we as the audience may not see the flaws that you do because you're so critical of yourself and your product. And most entrepreneurs and businesses are the same way. What we see as what the audience sees as, oh man, that was a great show. You're like, oh, if I would have done this better, I'd done this better, I'd done this better. So yeah, those behind the scenes are something I'm looking forward to. Getting back to the stars, not only during the year, but on the night of Olympia. And it is always a good surprise. Obviously, we're not going to ask you who the surprise is, but all the people that you've met over the years, which person or persons or male, female, has got you starstruck where you're like, oh, I couldn't wait to meet this guy or gal?
Okay. So there have been many, sparkly, famous people that have come into, my life. Some of them become friends. Some of them you just see once a year. And to be honest with you, my experiences with nearly all of them have been wonderful. The one celebrity that probably stands out above all for me, is Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq is a bodybuilding fan. He authentically and truly lives that lifestyle. He's got a great trainer named Rock Shabazz, who is a very talented, sought after specialist in physique transformation and building a body. And he is Shaq's guy. And over the last several years, we've formed a friendship. And what makes Shaq so special is, look, every celebrity is unique in his or her own way. And I've had the chance to get to know many. However, inherently, most celebrities or most very successful people by their nature are very protective of their network, very protective of their world. Not always share. They aren't always quick to share relationships. Shaq is unique because he is incredibly generous with his network. There's nobody on the planet who has more friendships and meaningful connections than Shaq. Shaq knows everyone, and not everyone as a matter of speech. He knows everyone. Presidents, politicians, celebrities in all sports. Shaq is very, very plugged in. And if I'm with Shaq and Shaq asks me, hey, are you doing business with this particular company or that particular television network? And if I say no, he will often dial the phone number of the CEO or the head executive of that company. He will get them on the phone. He will hand me the phone and he'll say, here, I want to introduce you. And he will do those things, not because he has to, just because he wants to, just because he wants to bring good people together. And he's really good at that. And I'm always so grateful because that's a very unique thing. We're all inherently very protective. He's so secure with what he has that he just likes connecting people and bringing the right people together. And I've always felt that whether or not you're talking about the music industry or business, the business world, or my industry in fitness or celebrities or Hollywood, the people that stand out to me are the people who are willing to bring people together and sometimes put themselves second for the betterment of others. And Shaq has proven to be that way time and time again. And I'm very grateful for his friendship for sure.
That's awesome. And again, as a business owner, I think it's great advice to not only, the entrepreneurs who have made it successful in their own lives to give back. When someone wants to help you run a business or you're asking questions about how to run your business, it's always great to have those people in your life. You talked about the ability for bodybuilders to be able to do what they do. And like you correctly pointed out, someone's going to point out a simple, small flaw that is the difference between winning and losing. Just when I saw the first time I saw how amazing it was just for these to hold the pose, right? And they're not even moving. Like, you don't see that. If you're watching the main person on the show, they're doing their thing. And then there's, other contestants that are literally holding their pose. That itself is an art form.
Yep.
What's been to stay sort of behind the scenes of your business? Because I do want to talk about that. I love having to pick your brain here for business, as you're such a leader in the industry of not only Olympia, obviously, but just in running a business, between your movie production that you did 2 years on Bigger, bringing your and his family to the big screen. You got the documentary on Netflix. I hear the book coming out. I mean, you're all over the place. So with all the extra stuff you're doing, even though it's related to the bodybuilding, what's been the biggest challenge of being the president of Olympia, and how did you overcome that?
So the biggest challenge of having my job or having any job that involves mass consumption, and by mass consumption, of course, I'm referring to having a position that many, 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 many people can see every day what I'm doing in terms of the decisions that I make and the things that we all do as a team here. It's scrutinized, right? Because people care deeply about this lifestyle. It connects with people in a very different way. And to illustrate that, and I tell this story all the time, if you go to the Super Bowl, there's 80,000 people in the stadium. Very few of them will have ever thrown a touchdown pass, right? If you go to the NBA finals, very few of the people in the arena have ever dunked a basketball or hit a free throw with 15,000 people watching. When you go to the Olympia, it's different because the audience is filled with people who live this lifestyle. So they wake up every day and they train and they eat and sleep and breathe and bleed the fitness transformative movement. That's part of what they do. They are not observers. They are participants. That reality makes people very passionate passionate and very opinionated and very connected to what ties to what I do. The Olympia is very personal for a lot of people. It is a bucket list experience. They show up at the Olympia as a attendee or as a competitor, and it is the realization of something that they have aspired to do for sometimes their entire life. And it's very emotional for them. So with that reality comes a level of pressure to deliver and make sure that the experience meets the expectation. But the thing that frees you, though, I will say this is for anybody out there who is in a similar position or has a job where people are counting on them to do certain things. You're never going to make everybody happy. And that you have to cook that into the equation. You cannot allow yourself to be tortured and obsessed over the individuals, whether it's minority, however many there are, of people who have something to say about what you do. Because if you do that, you will become paralyzed, right? You'll become paralyzed by your fear of making hard choices. And you have to accept the fact that what you do, there are some that are going to love it, and there are going to be those that aren't. And there is never going to be a world where everybody's going to love everything that you do. So the biggest challenge for me, to answer your question, was getting to a place where I really understood that, because, the Olympia can end. There could be 5,000 comments talking about what a great experience it was. It was the best Olympia ever. It was life-changing. I can't wait to come back next year. And then there could be a handful of people that have something negative to say. And naturally our eyes always go to the negative. We don't allow ourselves to receive and digest the good stuff. We always go right to the criticism. And that's what flares up our brains. That's what keeps us pushing forward. And on some level, that's that success chromosome, right? It's that insatiable need to constantly do more and get more and have more and raise the bar and never really stop and smell the roses, but keep pushing forward. And that's definitely a disease that I have. And I sometimes wish I allowed myself to just revel in the satisfaction of the work that I do, but I don't do that. I'm always looking ahead. So the challenges have been trying to appreciate what I do and being okay that not everybody's going to be on board with every choice that I make.
So I get that. And that's great advice to be able to, again, keep those wins high and keep those lows a little higher. You don't want to be too high or low on each one. So I love that. Hey, listen, the audience and fans, again, I went there and I saw all kinds of people, like you were explaining. There's a lot of people in the industry. I mean, you could be sitting in the first few rows and you're sitting next to ex bodybuilders, but you're also sitting next to just regular fans, guys like me. How are you going to keep both the next year, how many more years you got at Olympia? What's your plan to keep it great for the diehards, but also pulling in some new fans, me who have never been there before? Because, I think it was, it's about 3 hours long, the final event. And again, I think I've been there 4 times. And I know the listeners might think I'm crazy. I've been to Super Bowls. I've been blessed to go to Super Bowls. I've been blessed to go to national championships in college. I've been to Stanley Cups. I've been to World Series. I've been to the Kentucky Derby. And so I had very high expectations going to Olympia, and I was blown away. And it literally felt like I was there for 20 minutes, and it was over 3 hours, and it just kept going as far as excitement. How do you keep that going every year? It's impressive.
Yeah. First of all, just hearing you say that, I can't tell you how much that means to hear, because that's what we're trying to achieve. And I always say, I'm trying to get people like you who have never gone before, or we're not from this world, as they say, to get you to respond that way really is gratifying. So thank you for saying that. And really, it's just a lot of it is just, in a book that I have coming out, one of the chapters is called The Power of the Pivot. And it just focuses on the ability to adapt and to take full advantage of innovations and new technologies and all the various things that are available to us to create more experiential value for fans and spectators. It's a huge part of growth. So to answer your question, we're just always trying to find ways, whether it's in venue selection, where we're holding the event, how we're connecting with new fans, even something as simple as a podcast like this, Joe. Your audience is not an audience of bodybuilding fans. Your audience is an audience of people with different kinds of interests, and they're into music and maybe apparel and this and that, or all the other things that you're all about these days. And so to be able to get on and have conversations with people who can see it through your eyes and connect with the experience that you had, that's what I'm trying to do. And let me be clear about one thing. I don't wake up every day trying to grow the Olympia. I'm trying to grow the whole lifestyle, the whole community. And if we do that and there's more participation, then all events will benefit. The Olympia will continue to grow. Sponsorships will continue to increase. Corporate America or the global corporate scene will continue to connect and support what we're doing. All those elements will continue to grow. So, but it all starts with this, having opportunities to talk to new people and connect with folks who may not have been aware of our world and now might say, you know what? I'm going to go to the Olympia this year because I'm looking for an excuse to go to Vegas. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to leave there with enough inspiration and motivation to fuel an entire year of, workouts and nutrition and just an overall new lease on life. So that's the plan. And that's what we try to do.
That's good news because a lot of the fans of the music world, even Keel fans, like new 40th anniversary shirt, they love going to Vegas. So to have another excuse to go to Vegas is great. And staying on the long lines of the future of Olympia, again, coming from my world of just music and growing up on competitive sports, but never getting to a higher level than high school. Baseball fans, football fans, you always see where they start off as far as in the world of how they're going to train for playing baseball and football. But what if someone came up to you, a young athlete, and says, I want to get into the world of bodybuilding? And, where do you tell these young men and young women to start?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So nobody walks into the gym the first time, typically thinking about being a competitive physique athlete or bodybuilder or whatever term you want to use. I always say, go find a gym where you feel comfortable at and give some thought to hiring a trainer. I know not everybody can afford a trainer, but I will tell you this, if you have any disposable income, there is no better way or better thing to invest on than yourself and a trainer, because a trainer will hold you accountable. A trainer will keep you off your phone. You will go in there. You will have a full, proper workout. Your body will be pushed in a way that will force it to respond and to evolve and to get fitter and get stronger, and get more muscular or whatever your individual goal is. But my advice is always start with a trainer. Have enough self-awareness to know that if you aren't motivated in a way that's going to be sustainable, because everybody starts off with a bang and they come out on January 1st, right? And they show up at the gym and they're there for 2 weeks and all those New Year's resolutions are there. And then come January 10th, half of those folks are gone, and then it continues from there. So I always say, find a trainer, somebody who you connect with, somebody who you like to be around, and get 3 workouts a week, even if it's just for the first 4 or 5 weeks, just to get you going. And it'll teach your body safe, healthy approaches to getting yourself on track. It'll give you somebody who can become a mentor to you. And I did that in the late 90s. And that person is still my trainer to this day. His name's Darren Charles. And his impact on my life is really without measure. It's been incredible to watch or to experience that positive energy that I get from him and the advice and the accountability. Because at the end of the day, the more things that we can do to hold ourselves accountable, the better. So that's been a big, that's probably the advice that I would give somebody who's thinking about stepping into those waters.
That's awesome. And when you're not with your trainer and you're either in your home gym or at the gym and you got your headphones on, you want to relate to our audience. We want to know, what's your go-to music in your favorite group or songs? It could be one or more. You have to ask me my favorite band. It's impossible. I got like 100 favorite bands.
It is. That is the impossible question. I mean, I grew up like everybody did, like most of the people that listen to your show. And, I went through the Scorpions and the Motley Crue and the Skid Row and the Van Halen and the Queen and the AC/DC. Like I did all that and I still love that stuff. I think right now my playlist is filled, and I don't know if this is going to kill my street cred or not, because I don't know what's cool to listen to these days, because I'm not cool to know, but I do find myself jamming to Fall Out Boy when I'm in the gym these days. I happen to think they're a great band, and they connect with me in a way that gets my workouts going. With that said, one of the downsides, if there is a downside to having a trainer, the only one is I usually don't have music in my ear when I'm training with my trainer, because of course he's in my ear instead. But yeah, that's probably my choice currently.
That's awesome. So I know we only got so much time with you, so I appreciate, you giving me your time. I know you're like me. I'm passionate about what I'm doing on my end here with BodyThredz, with, getting our bands and our through the fitness shirts and trying to get back in the gym, because all us old guys, even the guys who are part of the BodyThredz family, they're in the gym and they love wearing these shirts. And so we're all, we business owners are all trying to leave some sort of legacy on the sort of stuff we love, the passion that we have for whatever business path we choose. And I know that's important to you as well. So when all is said and done, especially in the bodybuilding, right? Because you've been a lifelong fan, and what you've done with Olympia is just amazing, right? You just finished up your 60th year, anniversary. You're going on to the 61st. So I can't imagine that it's be last year, but I know somehow you'll pull it off because you always do. What do you want your legacy to be in the bodybuilding world when, you're long retired, they look back at what Dan Solomon did to Olympia? What do you want them to say?
I don't care. Yeah, I don't.
I love it.
And I say that,
Perfect.
With respect. And the reason why I say that is because all I want to do is get up every day and work my ass off because I love this stuff. I love the sport. I love the competitors. I'm not doing this for praise or feedback or approval. I'm doing it because every day I'm confronted with a choice or a scenario, and I always make the choice that I think will move the sport forward, that will create more opportunities for people who love this lifestyle and will attract more people to participate in it, and hopefully in the healthiest possible ways. And that's what I think about. So hopefully, if there is a legacy, hopefully it's that Dan just really loved this stuff, and he loved it enough to make a lot of sacrifices and carry on a lot of stress and take on a lot of time away from, always being, at sometimes missing a little league game, or, always being places that were aimed at advancing the sport. And I have been fortunate enough to build some great relationships along the way. And I just want to be remembered as the guy who really loved this stuff and didn't run it in a manner that was compromising of its evolution. And I just hope that when it's all said and done, this lifestyle, the Olympia, the overall global connection to this community is positive and has evolved in a way where more people are doing it and more people are benefiting from it. And the simplest way, I know I just gave you a really long answer, but if you walk into the gym and you see that guy who is there and just got a membership because he had a quadruple bypass and he was morbidly obese, and he's in there trying to get healthy and to get into shape so that he can be around long enough to see his kids get married or to know his or her grandson or granddaughter. And that's a big part of this, because we always focus on those bodies on stage. But to me, it's not always about that. It's about the way those bodies on stage are inspiring people like that guy in the gym, or like the kid who got bullied at school and he's trying to find his identity. He's trying to find some swagger. He's trying to find some self-confidence. And at the root of this lifestyle of fitness and building muscle sometimes is the cure for a lot of things that people endure in their young adult lives or as kids. And that's something that I try to keep an eye on as well.
That's awesome. And I couldn't agree with you more. I love that, again, we're the passion that you have, but I always like to get in the mind of the business owner and or an entrepreneur like yourself. And I think that's great advice to give out to anybody who's either starting their own business or in business, that if you're passionate about it, yeah, you got to turn off the world and have that, I don't care attitude, and not in a disrespectful way, right? You have a vision and you're sticking to it, and it's impressive. And so, and thank you for being on my podcast, taking some fun questions, bringing in the music to the industry. But I will hold you. I think we got to see a live. I think we can get a whole live band there. I think we get a whole live band.
If anybody can get a band somewhere, Joe, if anybody can get a band somewhere, it's you, because I know you have a lot of rock and roll friends. And even if they can't come and perform, man, I'd love to, for those of you guys who are out there watching that appreciate a really good experience, go to MrOlympia.com, pick up some tickets, come out, even just come to the expo, walk around, see the energy and the commerce and all that cool stuff of the fitness industry come together. It's a really exciting experience. It's very visceral. It's filled with amazing energy, and it's motivating and inspiring. And Joe, I'm excited to see you there, and I'm excited to see your listeners and your viewers there. And congratulations on BodyThredz. I'm starting to see more people wearing BodyThredz around town. I love representing the brand whenever I can throw some of that stuff on. And I know you have big plans. So keep doing your thing, brother.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful for the time.
Awesome, Dan. Thanks again, Dan. All right, guys, that is it for us today. Another great show, another great podcast on BodyThredz. Man, I don't know what to say. I don't know how I'm going to beat this guest, but I'm going to try. We're going to have more shows, and we're going to have fun with this. At the end of the day, go to bodythredz.com, BODYTHREDZ.com. And also, we will be supporting Olympia, and we will bring some rock stars sitting next to me. So, Dan, thanks again.
Find your power.